YouTube, Mark Kaufman here, and today I want to talk about 58mm Victorinox knives. Now, this is definitely a size that I never thought I'd really be carrying. In the past, I actually really felt like these were kind of a gimmick knife, and they just really were too small to really be even useful. One of my first experiences seeing these knives in action out in the wild was when I was working in a warehouse, and one of the execs of the company was actually out on the floor, and he pulled one of these out of his pocket and used the small blade to cut some twine or some plastic holding binders, or whatever they call those things that hold a bunch of boxes together, and he used that to cut that off. And I was like, man, if he had like a Benchmade or maybe even like a Gerber or something like that, just something a little bit better and stronger, probably would be a better knife to cut that wire or whatever it was. And I just thought it was kind of a gimmick. And then after doing some research, I found out that these knives were patented in I believe it was the 1920s, late 20s, and these style knives were actually very, very, very common to be carried back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and this size was very common. And for me, I thought these were just kind of a gimmick, but after carrying a few, I found that I actually really liked carrying it around the house and when I would be going on a road trip or going out and not really needing a knife, but having something just to kind of cut open a package, cut open a snack pack, or something like that while you're on the road. So these don't really take up a lot of room, and they they're very, very useful when you don't want something taking up a lot of room in your pocket. So we actually have a few models here. I have these vintage ones that I kind of keep locked up and in their original packaging. These both are bijoux from the 1970s. I believe they were 1970s, 1960s. And they have nickel silver shields and nickel silver tweezers on them. And what makes these kind of interesting is that they have, or at least this one, has the single leaf spring, and then also has the older nail file, where right now, or as I can compare it to a modern day bijou, we have the newer style nail file. So these knives are very, very interesting. I find them to be very useful now instead of as kind of a gimmick. Now, one of the things I've noticed in having the older model versus the newer model is that the springs feel a lot stronger on the old one. The springs on the new one are not as strong, but they are perfectly suitable for a knife this size. That's actually because Victorinox has changed the design of the spring tension and the spring, overall design compared to the older ones. Now, there is one on eBay that I am very conflicted on getting, but it's an exposed rivet one like this, but it has pearl handles, and I know it's from the 1940s. I know for certain it's from the 40s, and I am very tempted to get it, but it's at a price that I just don't think is justifiable, which is $125, which is a lot of money for a small knife like this. So, really quick, these knives come with a lot of different combinations of tools, but so far I have actually found enjoyment in the scissor, nail file, and knife combo. Now, one of the things that is interesting to find is you can find older models on eBay, and the seller may not even be aware of it. So I actually have two older models from the 1970s here, probably even maybe the late 70s, but they share black carbon springs, and they both share aluminum headed tweezers. So they both have the aluminum tweezers, and then they have a black carbon split spring. Then you've already seen the single leaf black carbon spring. So there are two carbon style springs that you can kind of keep an eye out on. But then you also have the modern day knives that have the stainless steel spring. Now this is a riveted model, and this is called the Broker. And this one here is really nice to take on trips because, I mean, it is so thin. I actually think it's thinner than the Alox model, or at least very close to it. So it's very, very close to this thinness, but you don't have the exposed rivets. This one here is essentially a classic layout. You've got the nail file, nail cleaner, and then you've got the knife blade. Whoops. You've got the knife blade there, and then you've got your scissors. And really that's the combo that I like, unless like maybe if it's like a rover, you've got this cap lifter flathead, and then you have the emergency blade, or at least one of you said tracheotomy blade. So that was kind of an interesting comment. And then you got the nail cleaner. But these things have been very surprising, I would say. Like I've been very surprised at how useful they actually are, and how compact they really can be. So I've actually bought another one of these to carry, and when it comes to these older bijoux, I'm actually just kind of keeping these in their cases. I do have them up for sale on my eBay if anybody wants to buy them, but for me, I don't really carry that vintage stuff. And then these older spring bijoux are kind of to have as a comparison for historical record keeping. It would be very nice if I could upload these comparisons to SackWiki, and that would help a lot of people. But I am going to be consulting with another YouTuber that does primarily focus on Swiss Army knives, on what maybe I should do with some of the high resolution photos that I will be taking of these transitional designs and some of the things I've noticed. But for me personally, these small 58mm knives, don't look over them too quickly. I definitely did, but for me, I find these to be very useful. Yes, they are not very useful when it comes to like cutting down heavy duty stuff, or maybe even cutting up some fruit or anything like that. But when it comes to opening like a snack pack or a small package, these do just fine. And they do really well with like a pairing of like your standard everyday folder, and then you have a small utility blade or something that can do some cutting. So thank you guys for letting me ramble about these smaller knives and what I like about them. Till the next one, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.